How's everybody doing? We're back again doing a new setup series of podcasts after the post-Asian Cup. As you can see, we've now officially are part of Gold Bazan. We're back again with the regular panel. So unfortunately, Ayriza Peykan and Sarkar Hashimi couldn't be with us. We're back again with Team Melli, Pezhman Pars, and once again our favorite, as always, Babak Golriz. And before the topic today we want to discuss is about the Asian Championship for under 23 and our friendly matches. And in the upcoming days for next week, we're probably going to discuss about Kairos. But for now, we're just going to limit to this. But on behalf of Gold Bazan, we want to send our condolences to the 150 passengers that were killed in Flight 9525. An absolute tragedy. Out of the 150 passengers, there are unfortunately 2 Iranian sport journalists, Milad Hojat Eslami, which worked for Tasneem, and Hossein Javadi, that worked for the Vatan newspaper. They were covering the El Clasico, and they were headed to cover the Chile versus Iran match, which unfortunately this tragedy happened, and our condolences to their family. Welcome back, guys. How's everybody doing?
Good to be back, Pasha.
Thank you. And then Sina and Pezhman, as always, are ready. So, guys, I want to first talk about the Asian Championship for under 23. As you know, I guess we're in Group C. Right now, Iran has 6 points. Saudi Arabia has 4 points. Afghanistan has 4 points. Palestine has 3 points. And Nepal has 0. We've played against Iran and Nepal in the first game, which we won 5-0. And Sina, what are your thoughts on that match?
It's against Nepal. I think a 5-0 result is how it should be. There's, not much you can really say. Of course, a clean sheet and 5 goals from Oz Moon, Ali Karimi, and a couple of others as well. I think it's a good start. It's a relatively easy group. I think we should have no problem qualifying for the under-23s championship in Qatar, considering that every single game in the group takes place in Iran. So, all our games are at home. So we shouldn't really have any difficulty.
Pezhman? So, Pezhman, what are your thoughts on Iran versus Nepal match?
As Sina said, he covered pretty well. I mean, it's a game that we're supposed to win with at least 4 or 5 goals, have a clean sheet. Since the game's on Iran, we can expect some home support, although there haven't been that much audience in the stadium. But Nepal is a team that we should beat any day.
Bob, I have a question for you, and unfortunately, we know that Nelson Mangata didn't work out for him as our coach for the under-23 team manager. What do you think about Mohammad Khakpour being now as the manager of this team?
To be honest, I was a bit surprised when he was installed as the manager, and even more surprised when I think Maidi Kohan was named as the technical director, if I'm not mistaken, or someone sitting above Khakpour. But based on what I've been following about Khakpour's career post-playing was that he's coaching in the US, some high school or some kids academy or something. Yeah, or something, and but I was like I said, I was a bit surprised he was chosen, and I'm thinking I'm not that optimistic for us to qualify for the Olympics. I think we'll qualify from this group, but next January in Qatar, when we come up against the likes of Japan, Korea, etc., I think the better coaches will stand out. So I'm not optimistic, as I said.
Right. So, we played against Palestine and we beat them 2-0. What were your thoughts on that match? Because when we watched it, Osman played fantastic, but he missed a lot of sitters. Is it because he just feels like the lack of motivation for getting promoted, or what is that?
Yeah, he had a few chances in the first half, but it was a matter of poor finishing. I don't really doubt his motivation at all. I think even though he did miss a lot of chances, he's still putting 100%, and he looked disappointed with every chance he missed. And listen, he's a striker. He wants to score goals no matter at what level and who for, and no matter how many chances he misses or how many goals he scores, he still wants to get more. But in regards to the game, I think we played well, considering Palestine are a better opposition than Nepal. We scored 3 goals, and Montari got the other 2 after Osman's opener. It was a good game. There's a few good players that you can see they have talent and they have the potential, but we'll have to wait and see if they'll fully realize that potential or not.
Yeah. So guys, right now, there's been two notable standouts for me. Because so far, and that's been Motari. He scored 3 goals so far in the past 2 games. And someone that caught my attention was Ali Karimi of Sepahan. And I'm going back to you again, Sina. Is that who is your notable standouts, or do you agree with me? Is it? Do you think it's Motari or Ali Karimi, or do you think it's somebody completely different that you've seen that has caught your attention?
I think certainly Ali Karimi's. He's been great, especially in the game against Palestine. He was playing a deep midfield role, and every move that we had going forward went through him, and you could see that he's one of the main players in that team. But another player that really stood out for me was Iran's captain on the day, a player named Ruzbeh Cheshmi. He plays for Sabah, and he's a defensive midfielder / centre back, and he was playing centre back yesterday. And he's very commanding, but he's very composed on the ball, and I think he has the technical abilities to be a ball playing centre back, and that's we don't really have. So I think he's one to look out for as well. I mean, there's a lot of other players such as Shaheen Al-Saghbi, of course, Amir Al-Mutahari playing for Naft, scored in the Champions League early in the season, and he's got 3 goals in 2 games for Iran under 23s. So yeah, there's a few good players, but certainly Ali Karimi and Ruzbeh Cheshmi caught my eye.
Babak, I have a question for you guys now, and I'm going to start off with you, Babak. Is that looking at our Team Omid right now, and we have Barzai, you have Motari, and obviously Osman and Jamish that got depromoted, but looking at this team, just looking at our Team Omid, do you see any of these players that have a future chance to getting into the senior team and actually being a vital player for us?
Of course, like Sino said, there's a few players who have caught the eye, but they're very raw and they need time to develop.
Mm-hmm.
Games like this in the Olympic qualifiers and the Asian Champions League will help these players develop further. As of now, I would say Osman and Javad Nekounam are the only 2 players that are on that caliber where they can actually make an impact immediately for Team Melli. But what happens between now and 2018 in the careers of these players will define a lot, so we'll have to wait and see.
Pezhman?
I do agree, and I want to say I think we bet with Palestine with 3-0, right? And not 2-0.
Yeah, exactly. Excuse me.
I agree. I can't see these guys doing an impact in the first team right now, but maybe in the future, sure. Maybe Arsalan. I think that would be an interesting player.
Definitely. And my last final question for you guys, which is going to be a little bit controversial because I want to get your opinions and your assumptions, but based on this case, is that, we saw how vital Javad has been for his club in Holland, the Jupiler League, and arguably he could be basically the player of the year in that league. And we saw Saad Osman as what he's doing, and how vital key player he was for us in Australia, but them getting promoted down to, for Team Omid, could be a little bit a dilemma for us, because was it really a wise choice? Do you guys think that was a really wise choice to begin with, knowing that they could have at least gotten some experience internationally against Chile or Sweden? Or do you guys think that was a wise choice that they got depromoted down to help this team achieve the goal to get into Olympics? Or do you guys think it was what? I just want to know your thoughts on that. I'm going to start off with you, Sina.
Listen, legally and based on the FIFA regulations, when a player is under 23, he's eligible to play for the under 23 national team, and in that sense, Khakpur and Habib Khashani had the right to ask for Jahan Bakhsh and Osman to be included in the squad. So in that sense, there was nothing wrong with it. But another thing that comes into it is these players are not fringe players for the first team squad. I mean, for the senior team. I mean, Osman is almost a regular starter, and Jahan Bakhsh plays in almost every game. I think if those players were just going along with the senior team just to sit on the bench and don't play a single minute, then absolutely I'd want them in the under 23s. But as I said, these players are slowly becoming a crucial part of this team under Carlos Queiroz. So I personally would have wanted them in the game against Chile and Sweden. And also another thing is I'm not sure if the under-23s really need these two players to be able to beat the likes of Nepal or Palestine or Afghanistan and these kind of teams. And I'd much prefer young players and other players such as Shaheen Assaghiri or even Amir Hassan. If these players get in that international football exposure rather than Azmoun or Jahanbakhsh, because they're much higher level than under 23s. So I am a little bit disappointed, and I think it's one of those situations, it's one of those issues that could have been solved a lot better with a lot less drama. But listen, it's Iranian football, you can't really take it away from that.
Pezhman?
Yeah, I mean, isn't it the beauty of Iranian football? That's we always have something to talk about. Maybe if everything was going as well, this pod wouldn't be as fun as usual. But sure, Jahanbakhsh and Azmoun. I when something like this happens, I want to see it in a positive way. I mean, I hope that this effort that Kharkour made, or whatever you want to call it, makes a big difference, saying that, hey, the under-23s is a really important team that we want to put our focus on. We want to make this team strong. That's why we want our best players, no matter which team we play against. And also the other players in the team, just by being near players such as Azmoun and Jahanbakhsh, knowing that they have succeeded in Europe, I'm sure that they can be role models. Although they're in the same age, they're not in the same development stage technically and as football players. So I want to see that this as something good for our young players that we can play with Azmoun and Jahanbakhsh.
Babak?
I think both of the guys made some great points, and I'm stuck somewhere in the middle, but I'm more inclined to agree with Sina in the sense that we don't need these players for games against Yemen and Nepal and Palestine and Afghanistan and even Saudi, the top two qualify from this group. So these players have already developed. I mean, usually to play for under 23, you go from the under 18s, under 21, under 23. Yeah, so when they go up to the under 23, they will progress the national team. Some players develop better. People Azmoun and Jahanbakhsh, and they've skipped certain levels and then go to the national team. To demote them at this stage in the first round of qualifiers doesn't make sense to me. Like Sina said, it could have been more beneficial for them to play against Chile and Sweden. So overall, I like Pezhman's sentiment, but I think Sina is more right, or I'm in his camp when it comes to this question.
I want to play a little bit devil's advocate here because there's so many parties here involved, and we don't really. I mean, we could just based on assumptions say who's the one to blame. So coming first to you, Pezhman, is that who would you think is to blame? Is it Kafashian or is it Mai Nekounam that is forcing Kharkour to make these decisions? You know, like who was the person behind this to tell Jahanbakhsh Azmoun need to be depromoted down? Which we all know that Queiroz was really against it.
I mean, for us, since we're not, in the main core, we don't know who's to blame, who's actually to blame. I mean, Kafashian is a leader of IFF, but is there someone else with a stronger agenda than Kafashian, or is it simply Kharkour's demanding his right that he wants to use players? Because, as we said, it's not a crime. Doing what he thinks is best for his team. So, I mean, it's kind of hard to say that he's forcing anybody because he's not doing anything wrong according to the law. So I don't know if it's Mai Nekounam or Kafashian or Kharkour. No matter what, this is what has happened now. I think the important thing is to make this kind of issues not public, or make them much more professional from the beginning. We didn't know if Azmoun and Jahanbakhsh would come with a first team to Austria until they actually left Tehran, and that's Iranian football syndrome.
Babak?
wants the Olympic team to qualify for the Olympics, and then something he can put as a straw in his hat. But like Pezhman said, I don't think it's about saying someone is to blame or someone has an agenda. It's purely lack of communication, and that should be addressed by the president of the IFF. He needs to have stronger presence to be able to mitigate and coordinate things between the different teams. So he's failed to do that as usual, and that's why you have this angry Team Melli manager and defensive under-23 manager. So I think it's Kafashian should have done a better job of this.
Sina?
Yeah, I agree with both guys. I think, as Pezhman said, Hawkpool hasn't really done anything wrong. I mean, if there's a player eligible for the under-23s, then it's his right to want that player to play for his team. And I read an interview with Hawkpool, and he said if the Team Melli's games against Sweden and Chile were official games, as in if it was a qualifier or anything like that, then Ambassador Osman would definitely play them. But it's not because these games are and the under-23 games are more of a qualifier, then under-23s has more of a priority for these two players. In terms of Melli, I'm not sure if he has that big of a role in the team as everyone thinks. I think he's only there to help Hawkpool, because Hawkpool doesn't really have that much experience. Melli is supposedly an experienced manager. He's managed Team Melli on a couple of occasions. So I think he's only there to help him. There's another man involved in this as well. There's a guy called Habib Koshani. He's the former chairman of Persepolis. He has a more of a directory role in this new under-23 under-23. I think these kind of decisions have to go through him. But as Babak said, Kafashian has been very indecisive, and we are paying the price for it. It's just a misunderstanding and lack of communication, as the guys said.
Yeah, thank you. Guys, this next topic we want to talk about is our two friendly matches. Wow, instead of us playing North Korea or Yemen or something like that, we're actually playing Chile and Sweden. That's big. The first discussion we want to talk about is our first friendly match, and that's going to be Chile. The lineup, just to give you guys a reminder, was Hairi in goal. Right back was Ghafouri. The two center backs were Montazeri and Hosseini. Left back, Bekzadeh. Center mid roles, Teimouri and Nekounam, and on the right wing was Dejaga, middle with Shojai, and left wing Emiri, and striker Guchanejad. What are your thoughts on this lineup? It was a very typical Queiroz. We all expected that. But is there anything you guys have thoughts on, Babak?
I think it was the expected starting lineup. Performance-wise, I don't know if we want to get into performance. I thought it was a very good performance. Probably one of the best we've seen under Queiroz, because everything clicked. I think his style of football works best against stronger teams. That's why we've had good results and relatively good performances against South Korea in the past. But good results, but poor performances is widely spoken against teams like Qatar and UAE. In the last couple of games against Iraq, when we got knocked out in this one, I think things have clicked well. There's been much more fluidity in the transition between defense and attack. And I thought Queiroz gave us a little hint into what could come in the future if he was to stay as Team Melli manager.
Sina?
Yeah, I think it was a great result, of course, but a great performance as well. I think usually got his tactics spot on. I was watching the game, and we played the 4-1-4-1 with Shojai coming deep to help Nekounam and Dranik, and they closed all the gaps through central midfield and forced Chile wide, and they had Eduardo Vargas playing centre forward, and they tried putting in crosses, but he's never going to get a header over Hosseini or Montazeri. So I think defensively we were on point as usual. Dejaga and Amiri. It was more of a forced change with Hajsafi being injured. I think they were fantastic going forward. They were threatening every time we were on the counter, and the two goals that we scored were fantastic as well. So yeah, I think it was a very very good result, but even a better performance to go with it.
Pezhman?
Yeah, About the lineup, I was actually surprised that he took a similar lineup with the previous last games from the Asian Cup. But then again, this was the first time they actually met after the last game in Asian Cup, so he didn't have much to go on. So let's just play with the best team and hope for the best. And I was surprised that he made such an impact. Amiri made such a good impact in the game, because he had been kind of had a hard time in national team so far, not really being able to do anything. But I don't know if it was for the game, for Chile's poor performance, or Queiroz' great tactical analyze. But I think Amiri was a great surprise in the attack, and Shojai was good in everything except his poor finishing, which he's been backing for a couple of years now. But to see Afuri, amazing month. He left us running. I like that.
Bobak, were you surprised by the result, knowing that we got a clean sheet against Chile that are going to host the Copa America soon in the summer?
Yeah, I think that's definitely shows a testament to the defense that Queiroz has built over the last few years. And as we saw, we had two new players in the defense this time, and Bekzad and Motezeri, but it was like usual. So it really doesn't have he's playing, but they have this unit. As a unit, they're very solid, and very rarely do they let shots through. And generally, if they do, Hagege seems to have his positioning right. He made a good point-blank save as well from, I think it was Vargas. I could be wrong. But overall, yes, impressive to keep another clean sheet.
Sina?
I mean, Bob said it all. I think they are a great team going forward under Sampaoli, as we saw in the World Cup as well. A lot of people say, well, it was their second team. I think they have a lot of strength and depth, and a clean sheet against the team with Chile's class is great in its own. And I think it's these kind of games that prepare us for competitions or big qualifying games coming up. Well, not now, but in a few years. I think we need to keep up playing against big teams such as Chile and such as Sweden, if we want to stay as good as we are right now.
Pezhman, who was your man of the match on the field?
It's a hard one, because it was really a great team effort, great team defense. Man, I would say Nekounam or Amiri. Maybe Amiri, because I didn't expect this kind of game from him. He was running a lot, doing some defensive work, and overall being a much more useful player for a national team. Also, of course, Dejave always is Dejave. For me, he's the best Iranian player in the team. But for that special game, I would say Amiri being the biggest surprise, and therefore man of the match.
Sina?
I'm gonna go with Nekounam. I think he was. I don't want to say back to his best, but he performed much better than he has done in the last 12 months, and it was a special occasion for him, earning his 150th cap, passing Ali Dai's record of 149, and he capped it off with a goal as well. But he's a crucial figure in that team, and I think he'll be a big miss once he leaves. But another player that I was impressed with, I mean, as always, is Jalal Hosseini. I think he's like an unsung hero, really. I mean, he's always on form. He's always performing, and I think he's one of the most crucial players in that team. There's a backbone in this team, which Hosseini is certainly one of them. It goes through Hosseini, Andranik, Nekounam, and Dejaga as well.
Perfect. Bobak?
Sina took the words out of my mouth. I was going to say my man of the match was probably Jalal Hosseini. He's been probably the best central defender we've had in the last 20-25 years, definitely during my lifetime. He was solid. He was covering ground well. He was great in the air as usual. He commands the box and offers a great first line of protection for his goalkeeper. But at the same time, it was a team effort, like Pezhman said. So you could pick pretty much any player out of that lineup, including Masoud Shojaei, who was really, really impressive, other than his shooting, as Pezhman said. But I'll go with Hosseini as well, just to point out that this guy is a really, really special player for us, and he will be missed a lot once he retires, which will happen sooner rather than later.
Thank you. In the next couple of days, we're going to play against Sweden, and looking at how much our players have been disciplined and tactically disciplined too, which is a big part, playing team effort and stuff, and this is going to be Kersh's last game. Before we get to that, I want to ask Pezhman a few questions. Pezhman, what do you see about the Team Melli's training camp today? You saw some key points, and they weren't really training; they were just messing about. But what did you see? And I know you have something that Kerosh has told you, which will be interesting to the viewers.
Yeah. Today I was at the Iranian national team training camp in Skytteholm in Sweden. That's near Friends Arena. Skytteholm is a artificial grass arena, so this is something that most of the players are not used to in Iran. With that being said, it didn't really matter if they were playing on artificial grass, real grass, or even asphalt, because it wasn't any tactical training, it wasn't any games or anything. It was more or less just easy training, having some fun with the ball, playing some football, tennis, and it's what you call the two guys in the middle with the ball going around, and then they try to catch it. Some easy stretching. They weren't really doing anything. They just had good luck with the weather. Fortunately, it was great sun. Kerosh was asked what he thought about the entire day, more or less, and the special occasion with the training. He said, "This is not." You asked him, "Is this what you like?" He said, "No, I don't like this kind of what you can say system." That basically, first of all, the training was supposed to be more or less secret, but somehow the word got out, and maybe 100 Iranians were at Skytteholm watching the training. Secondly, they came an hour later than expected, and they came with the bus directly to the training facilities. They were already ready to go. And there was security and police holding people off. Not that people were actually doing anything, but making sure that there was a distance between the players and the fans. And this distance was kept during the entire 60 minutes that they were having this easy, light training. But although after the game, some people managed to get some pictures and ask a couple of questions. Kerosh said he was happy with this kind of setup. As you remember, in the Asian Cup in Australia, he was really happy every time the fans came. He invited fans to the bus. It was joy and happiness. And it is something that IF or somebody in Iran doesn't like. They have like these moral panics. And also after the game, I asked Nekounam if he was going to quit the national team. He said no. Is Sweden your last game? He said no. I said, are you going to quit yet? He said no. So hopefully Nekounam will be a part of the national team. Maybe at least this year. I can't see him being the next World Cup, but who knows? At least he will be here in 2015. Kerosh, I will go to the press conference on Monday. I will ask him. We'll see if he answers any of those questions. It was a silly training.
Babak, I'm gonna play a little devil's advocate with you. What do you think is gonna be Kerosh's last ever lineup with Team Melli?
I think that we're going to see more or less the same lineup that played against Chile. I would be surprised if we saw more than one change. Possibly, maybe at left back. I can't see anything else, to be honest.
Sina?
Yeah, I agree. I think if there was ever any games that the result was so important for Keroush's career. It's certainly these two. He's won the first one against Chile, and he wants to make sure he leaves a mark against Sweden to show IFF and Iranian football that maybe you're making a mistake. So I don't expect too many changes. I think, as Bobak said, they'll more or less line up the very similar to the game against Sweden. Maybe we see Omid Ebrahimi starting, and maybe Ansar Rifat starting for Hoxha Nejad, but I can't see too many differences.
So we know he wants to leave on a high note and tell the Iranian Football Federation something. So you don't think he's going to call Enayati back from Iran for this game?
I was hoping he would, but he's disappointed.
Yeah. So this is the final topping point, guys. Just a simple question. Do you think we'll win against Sweden? Sina?
I'm not too sure. I don't think we'll be able to get a win. But it all depends on how Sweden.
Pezhman?
I think very well that Iran can beat Sweden. I follow the Swedish national team daily, or at least as much as I can, since I also live here. And to be honest, besides Zlatan Ibrahimovic, Sweden lacks some really good players. And besides that, there are a couple of injured, I'm sure that Amrian, the coach, will rest for the game. And those players that will replace them are that dangerous that we should be afraid. Yes, it's a natural team. It's a good game. It's a strong natural team, but they're not that strong. I think that we will actually score against them. Zlatan won't be playing 90 minutes. I think 30 we should be happy because they want to rest him, but he will definitely play. And there's a couple of young, interesting players that will play for the Swedish national team. Then we have actually better players in Iran. Javad Nekounam, Nekounam. I mean, Sweden isn't a team that we should be of. And also there will be more Iranians in the stadium. So Iran will have a home field advantage in the arena. Up to 35,000 kids old. I think we have at least 30,000 will be Iranians. So Sweden will have this, like, what the hell, is this our country or not? It will be fun to see that as well. But Iran can beat Iran. It can beat Sweden. It's not that impossible.
Thank you, Pezhman. What are your thoughts, Bobak?
I think that I like Pezhman's optimism, but I think as long as we don't lose, it would put a lot of pressure on the IFF with the whole Carlos Queiroz contract situation, because we've got to win against Chile, and if we can get a draw against Sweden, it would really strengthen Queiroz's, let's say, position and his legacy, and it would put a lot of pressure on IFF and the next guy who's going to come in charge. But personally, I think
Thank you. Guys, we're going to wrap this up. I want to thank you guys for coming back on and doing this. The next podcast is definitely going to be about life after Queiroz. That's going to be a really interesting discussion. You can find us on iTunes, SoundCloud, on the Persian Football website, and elsewhere. And just subscribe, write reviews, whatever. Bobak, what's your Twitter handle if the viewers want to find you?
Yeah, my Twitter handle will be Bobak Golriz, BABAKGOLRIZ.
Sina?
You can find me on Twitter at Sina, that's SIN_N. So, yeah, any questions or anything, just
Pezhman?
My Twitter is Iranski, and it's spelled in Swedish, and tweets mostly in Swedish. Some Persian retweets, but that's mostly Swedish tweets from me.
Yeah, I appreciate it, guys. And once again, we're right now back in iTunes. If you guys want to subscribe, write reviews, we'll greatly appreciate it. And looking forward to having discussions more, and definitely having Alireza Peykan and Sarkar Hashmi back in the panel. Thank you guys once again, and it's always been a pleasure. And hopefully we'll beat Sweden. Thank you.
Thank you, Pasha. Great work, as usual.